Hey everybody, welcome back. So, as you saw in the last video, at the time when I had tested this A5 and gotten it back together, um, I had thought that my issue lied in these extractors, or this extractor rather. And I got to looking at it after I pulled the barrel off. I was almost about to pull the trigger to buy that extractor, and I got to thinking about it. And I was like, wait a second, it's pulling the shells out just fine. It's just not ejecting them. Now, for those of you that have a Auto-5 that's chambered in 12 gauge, its ejectors are quite different from how they appear on the 20 gauge. I wasn't aware of this because I was on Gun Parts Corp's website and I was just trying to figure out all these things. I couldn't figure out, why am I not seeing the parts that I need? Why is this shotgun not looking like what it's supposed to look like? And basically, to sum things up, is the Magnum 20 is it's quite a different design from the 12 gauge. In particular, if you take a quick look at the barrel here, you'll notice there's a spring in here with a cylindrical nut, and then you see this spot back here. Well, this is where the ejector should be, because here is said ejector rod, spring assembly, everything. Now, I wouldn't have known that this even existed had it not been for a website called Art's Gun Shop. I went out to his website. I found this full assembly, this ejector rod, ejector spring, and ejector, which this is the primary component of what this shotgun is missing. I went out to his website. He had this full up complete assembly for the Magnum 20. I believe it was $75. I know that sounds expensive, but you know what? If you're missing this thing, where else are you going to get it? I mean, there's very few places that actually had this ejector. Some places had it where you could just buy the ejector, that's fitted on this rod. And other places had the full up. Well, I didn't see any place that had the full up assembly, so I was thinking, well, if I'm tearing this thing down, I'm going to replace the entire thing. I'm not going to be messing around, but as well just do it once, do it right. So I do believe this is my issue. So basically, the problem is that ejector that was originally here was on the end of this rod, and it appears to me as though it essentially broke off. So now what I've got to do to get this out of here is I've got to unthread this rod from this nut, this captive nut that's inside of this, rides in this slot in here, to get it out. So that's essentially kind of what I've been working on here for the last little bit. I don't know how easily, how quickly, this is going to be. It's probably going to be a serious pain in the tail, but if I can get this thing out, then it should be able to get the other one in. Now my problem is it appears as though on the end of this rod it's kind of bent. So I can tell I'm already going to have an issue trying to get this thing out of here. Big surprise. That's just the way it goes. To be quite honest, this thing, oh, I see. So it's not even screwed on here. This has just been flattened and is just kind of sitting in there. So this is going to be fun trying to get out. So somebody's been messing with it. I don't know who, but I've got to get this rod out of here, or this is just not going to work. Looks like I lost part of my glove on that one. But regardless, This has got to come out. I don't care if I have to bend it in the process, it's coming out. Because it's got to, in order to get the new one in here. This has become a serious pain in the tail. Because what had happened, I'll kind of show you this. I'm going to have to insert a picture. Where it broke off the end here, well this was, I'll insert a picture so you can see it up here in the top left. This is kind of boogered up. Well then, on this other end, this was kind of free floating, at least it appears to be, and this was like flattened out. So it's almost impossible to get this thing out of here. So what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew this like it needs to be, and we're going to get, basically going to drop this little threaded cylinder down inside of here while holding it in place. I say we're going to do that. I'm going to mess up every bit of this. The problem is you've also got to get this spring in here at the same time, as well as push the rod in and screw it in. I know you're not seeing much of this on the camera, just simply because it is very hard to do. But we're going to see if I can try to sort of do it. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so now you kind of see how this is sitting in here. So now what I've got to do is I've got to pull this back, compress this spring, and then tighten this down in a clockwise fashion. Wow, this is not easy. This is very hard. Like I've said in some of my previous videos, oftentimes you really need a third hand in order to get to this stuff. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out the best way. Let's see what I can use on this multi-tool here to maybe help me out. It's never easy. Let's try this little leather sewing piece. And yes, guys, I know I'm not using the proper tools. It's okay. We'll survive. As long as I don't stab myself in the finger, which is entirely possible. Oh, there we go. I don't want that to come out, for sure. And it rotated. That's not what I wanted you to do. I mean, you guys can see where it needs to go, and it doesn't want to go, simply because what needs to happen is this kind of needs to be clamped on both sides, and then something to slide it back so that I can compress the spring and screw this in. This is not easy. Very hard, actually. Actually, let me pause this. Let me grab another tool and see if I can get this a little better. Okay guys, we are back. This is incredibly hard to get in here. Suffice it to say, at least on this replacement one from Art's Gun Shop, this little disc here is threaded. So the spring has to be compressed between here, and then this ejector with the rod threads into it. So one, you've got to hold it in place. You've also got to thread it and compress the spring at the same time, so that when you're done, this is what you end up with. You end up with your ejector sitting here, with your rod going through here, with the spring being here, with that little cylinder nut down here, and it all compresses and holds together in a pretty tight fashion. Now, my suspicion is that this is going to fix this, because this ejector was completely gone on this assembly, as you can see. Now you can see it's right there where it should be, sitting in that slot. And so the moral of this story is you should pay close attention to your firearm when you disassemble it. If something's not making any sense, take a closer look at it. Now, I don't know if this rod was supposed to be threaded all the way to the very end of this nut to where it stops. I'm assuming it is. I'm assuming you want that good and tight there, so you got really good spring tension. I don't know. I'm hoping to get this out here in just the next little bit, and you know, finish the reassembly of it and try it out with a couple different loads, 3-inch Magnums, as well as the standard 2 3/4. As you saw in the previous video, those were both. I have actually a good handful of each, and both are high brass cartridges. It's not like they're low velocity or anything like that. But my hope is that now that I've got this ejector in here properly, I don't know how many times I've said extractor in this video, but this ejector in here properly, that it'll kick these shells out like it's supposed to. We're going to find out. So we'll take this outside here shortly, and we'll see what happens. We'll be right back. Everybody, welcome back. So as you just saw me do a moment ago, I replaced the ejector in this Browning Auto-5. I'm here in the back pasture. There's really nothing around back here, so it's a safe environment to shoot. What I've done is I've loaded this with 3 of the 2 3/4 inch shells, the 20 gauge. We're going to try this out. I've also stacked my rings, my friction rings, brass ring, all that fun stuff accordingly. So we're going to check this out, see if it ejects as intended. Hopefully it will. We're going to find out right now whether or not this fixed the issues that my friend was having with this Browning Auto-5. It is loaded. Here we go. I would call that a 100% success. Thanks for watching, guys. And until next time, have a great day.